And she was also thinking, I just have to find out how much rope it's going to take to bind my son. And seeing the determination of her love, Krishna allowed himself to be bound by a tight knot. Those two fingers, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, they are representative. To bind Krishna, two things are important. One is our enthusiasm. Our enthusiasm and determination to serve under all circumstances. But that's not enough. The other is Krishna's mercy. And Krishna, unless Krishna allows himself to be tied, no matter what we do, it cannot do. Our enthusiasm is just an expression of our sincerity to attract Krishna's mercy. There's a verse in the Gita, Ragadvesha vimuktaishtu. What is that verse? Vishayanindriyashtaran atma vishaya prasadam adhigacchati. That one who follows the regulative principles of freedom, who follows the path of bhakti sincerely, can attain the mercy of the Lord. And by that mercy we become free from all the attachments and aversions of this world. Krishna wanted to show the world for all time to come that he is conquered by the love of his devotee. He wanted to show the world forever that bhakti, love and devotion, is the supreme power, because it is the power of Srimati Radharani, Krishna's supreme pleasure potency. All devotion is her power. Even a drop of her love that manifests through any of our hearts can conquer Krishna. When we are totally conquered by love for Krishna, Krishna is conquered by that love. That is the deepest mystery and highest secrets of all wisdom cultures and all scriptures. Krishna was bound by the rope of Yashoda's affection. Affection. But then Krishna, when Yashoda Maya went back to do her duty, he wanted to perform some more mischief. Apparently. He saw two Arjuna trees in the courtyard and he crawled and pulled that grinding mortar between the trees and then crawled a little more, and both the trees crashed down to the ground. And Nalakuvera and Manigriva came out of those trees. Two great demigods. Sons of Kuvera, who were extremely arrogant. And because of that arrogance, they were selfish and disrespectful. And they offended the great Rishi Narada. Out of his mercy, he understood nothing less than making them into trees will curb their pride. But let them become Krishna's associates. They became trees in Krishna's courtyard. They were trees for a long time, but it culminated, they got to watch Krishna's Leelas. And ultimately Krishna delivered them and gave them pure devotional service. A few days later this month is Govardhan Puja. Perhaps the favorite most of all the Lord's Leelas. Nanda Maharaj was performing his annual traditional family worship of Indra with a great amount of food and other types of paraphernalia. And little Gopal was only 7 years old. He said, "Father, what are you doing? What is this sacrifice? Who is it for? What is the purpose of it? What do you hope to gain from it? I'm your son, so you should not keep any secrets from me." So Nanda Maharaj explained that my father and his father and his father, for generations we are doing this because we are cowherd men. We require grains, we require crops, because if there's not grass, the cows have nothing to eat and they will die. And if we don't have food, then we will not survive. We're farmers. We absolutely depend on rain. And rain is the gift of Indra. So every year we make this puja to offer our gratitude to Indra and also to satisfy Indra so that he will provide rains. Krishna replied, first he spoke the Kamamasa philosophy, which is quite technical actually. But in essence he said, if you do good, you get good karma. If you do bad, you get bad karma. And demigods, all they can do is supply you the reactions to your karma. So if we're good people, then Indra has to give us rain. And if we're not good people, he doesn't have to give us rain. So what do we need this Indra for? Actually, our cows are depending on the grass that grows on Govardhan Hill. So we should, and the Brahmins, if we please the Brahmins, they are so close to God, then God is pleased, and then the demigods have to give you whatever you want. So let's take all this paraphernalia for Indra and worship the Brahmins, the cows, and Govardhan Hill. And Nanda Maharaj said, well, let's first worship Indra, then we'll do this. And Krishna said, no, let us do this immediately. And then Krishna gave very elaborate instructions of how to do. So they cooked huge feast, gigantic feast. Prabhupada describes, and Srimad Bhagavatam describes so many of the preparations. They made mountains and mountains and mountains of bhoga. They offered it to Govardhan Hill. And then Giddy Raj, Govardhan, personified himself as a gigantic, supreme, divine person. And Krishna, who was the same person as Giddy Raj himself, was on the ground and bowed down, and all the Brijavasis bowed down. And then Giddy Raj took all the offerings with his hands and ate them instantly. Mountains, lakes, kunds of different types of bhoga. And after he finished all of it, he wanted more. And very loudly he cried out, "Give me more. Aniyor." And there was nothing left. So then by Krishna's arrangement, he offered a tulsi leaf. And Giddy Raj said, now I am satisfied. Then Krishna led all the Brijavasis to circumambulate. They did full parikrama of Sri Giddy Raj. And then they did so many nice pujas. And meanwhile, Giddy Raj, whatever he ate, he returned it all. He manifested all those mountains and mountains and mountains of bhoga. Now it was Maha Prasad. And Krishna, under his instruction, Nanda Maharaj Shudras, the animals, the monkeys, the cows, the peacocks, the deers, everyone was fed prasad. It was a wonderful, joyous festival. Everyone was so happy, except Indra was not happy. He was because he's a devotee. He's a great devotee, Indra. Please don't offend Indra. And then, if you have connection to Krishna, you won't offend Indra either. Indra was so angry. He called the Vertica Clouds. These are clouds for devastation of the universe. This is just... it's just a little cloud from the Arabian Sea. But these clouds, Vertica Clouds, within a matter of hours, they make the whole world into an ocean, one ocean. And Indra said, this talkative child, Krishna, due to his influence, Nanda Maharaj and the Brijabasis took all that was meant for me and offered it to this mountain. Destroy them. Torrents of rain started pouring down. Now, for us, rain comes in drops. There were no drops. They were pillars. Pillars of water. Massive pillars of water were pouring down from the sky. And the Brijavasis saw this. It was dark, lightning, thunder, like we've never seen. And everyone came running to Krishna. The Brijavasis had the cows in the front of them. They said, Krishna, it's very cold, and it's raining very hard, and Indra's very angry, and look, your cows are cold. And the poor cows, they were trying to cover their calves, and they were mooing in great pity. And the bulls, they were looking up at the sky. They were very... And Krishna smiled. He said, follow me, I will protect you. And Krishna went to Govardhan Hill. And as effortlessly as a little child lifts a mushroom from the ground, he lifted Govardhan Hill. It made a tumultuous sound. Now at that time, Govardhan Hill was so high and so big that its peaks were piercing the clouds. It was like Himalayas in those days. Now for internal confidential reasons, it's been getting smaller. Krishna lifted that hill, and as he lifted it, he uprooted it from the earth and effortlessly brought it over his head and balanced with the little finger of his left hand. He was still smiling. He cried to all the Brijavasis, please come, bring all your cows and all your calves and all your family members and everyone else. Now look at Giddy Raj. He was so pleased by your offerings to him. He's become an umbrella. So everyone came under Govardhan Hill. 7 days and 7 nights, they all remained under Govardhan with Krishna in this beautiful darshan of Giridhari, threefold bending form holding the flute, holding the hill. Every now and then he would play his flute. The cowherd boys were very afraid when he started playing his flute. Because they were thinking, we have seen the effects of Krishna's flute. When he plays his flute, solid matter melts and liquid becomes solid. So if he's playing his flute so sweetly that Govardhan Hill may melt in ecstasy and drown all of us. So some of them were saying, Krishna, please stop playing your flute. And other gopas were saying, no, Govardhan is a very sober person. Giddy Raj will not melt. He will protect us. This made all the different residents of Brindavan, Krishna, just by his glances and his smiles, was fully reciprocating with everyone's love. 24 hours a day for 7 days. No one had to sleep. Everyone was fully nourished, fully enthused, just seeing that beautiful form of Giridhari. And his smiles and glances conquered their hearts with ecstatic love. They never wanted that rain to stop. Meanwhile, while they were in ecstasy underneath the hill, not a drop of water came in. Indra was over there, and he was just screaming at the Vertica Clouds, harder, harder, harder. And after some days, those clouds were totally depleted and exhausted. They came to Indra and said, we give up. Then Indra himself, personally, on his elephant, started shooting thunderbolts and bringing the highest possible winds, cyclones, hurricanes, tornadoes, everything, bashing against Govardhan Hill. And after 7 days of all that, Indra did not have the power to remove one leaf from a single tree of Govardhan Hill. He could not move even 1 centimeter, 1 grain of sand from Govardhan Hill. Nothing. And even the animals that were on top of Govardhan Hill were just having a nice time. He couldn't even disturb them. The reason is because the tip of the little finger of Krishna was touching the bottom of that massive hill. And just from the tip of his finger, he was energizing, surcharging Giddy Raj with so much pleasure that nothing could affect him. Indra was humiliated because everyone's watching. Everyone's watching. 7 days. All of his personal powers, all of his most powerful representatives and servants, they couldn't uproot a single blade of grass from Giddy Raj. So he gave up. And he left. The sun came out. And Krishna was still smiling. He said, now the rains are ended, you could all go home. No one wanted to go home. But Krishna said, go home. You have duties to perform. So everyone left. The cowherd boys brought the cows. But then the cows looked back and they ran back and surrounded Krishna. They couldn't leave him. So with his glance, he was herding them out. Then he placed the hill down just as it was, exactly before the storms. Krishna was inspecting to see how everything was around Braj Bhumi. And Indra, he realized he committed a massive offense. He went to his guru, Brihaspati, and said, what should I do? I tried to destroy Brindavan. Now I understand that Gopal is God. He's the supreme absolute truth. He's the personality of Godhead. Due to my false ego, I forgot. I was so caught up with anger. Brihaspati said, oh, very bad. You are a fool. You are really a fool. He said, you cannot approach Krishna directly. You try to destroy him. Only if a devotee approaches him on your behalf will he forgive you. So go to his cows. So Indra went to Surabhi, mother of the Surabhi cows, and she took pity on him. And at Surabhi Kund, she went to Krishna and she said, Indra, Krishna completely ignored Indra. He's a little cowherd boy. Here's the king of heaven. It's nothing. He ignored him. But then Surabhi said, Indra is genuinely repentant for what he has done. Please forgive him. On the strength of Surabhi's love and compassion, Krishna forgave Indra. And he fell at Krishna's lotus feet, begged forgiveness, showing that we have all made so many offenses in our lives and in previous lives. But if someone who Krishna loves and someone who loves Krishna, a dear devotee, prays on our behalf, then Krishna will hear our prayers, forgive us and uplift us. And Indra, after condemning his own false pride and ego, thinking he was the controller, he said, Krishna, from now on, you are our Indra. You are. And Krishna was given the name Govinda. Another festival during the month of Kartik is Gopastami. This is the first day that Krishna is given the charge of the cows. Doing his Kumar Lila, he was in charge of calves. When he entered into his Poganda Lila, from 6 years old to 10 years old, he was given charge of the cows. 900,000 cows. On this day of Gopastami, Yashoda Mai made nice shoes for Krishna. Because taking care of cows, you have to take them long distance into the forest and into the pastures. And Krishna told Yashoda Mai that I'm the servant of the cows. Unless you make the same quality shoes for all my cows, then I will not wear shoes. Now, what's 900,000 times 4? Huh? Well, you could all use your calculators later if you like. But that's how many shoes. So Krishna went barefoot. And he would herd his cows throughout the day. And with his Gopa friends, they would play so many beautiful games. All games which are simply actions and words to exchange love. That's all. Originally, every word, every movement, every action is simply a way to express our pure, unalloyed love for God and each other. That's what the spiritual world is. Even moving a finger like this. Now we just So many of you are moving your fingers, you're not even aware that you're moving your fingers. Yes? So many of you are moving your legs because I'm giving too long of a class. Because your legs are paining. So we move so much and we speak so much. But in the spiritual world, every single movement to the slightest detail is a conscious expression of pure ecstatic love. Every sound that comes from us is an expression of our pure ecstatic love. Sometimes so many strange sounds come out of us, whether it's intentional or unintentional. But the origin of all sound, the origin of all movement, the origin of every particular function of the senses, the mind, the heart, is to exchange love. For what pleasure? For what purpose do we exchange love? To give each other the highest pleasure. That's the spiritual world. So when Krishna would play these games with the cowherd boys, we cannot imagine what type of ecstasy that is. Every movement of every cowherd boy was just an offering of ecstatic love to Krishna. And every movement of Krishna was for the purpose of reciprocating with every single cowherd boy. They would play. Can you imagine how enjoyable these games were? Because they were so enjoyable, there was no possibility of them ending. So Krishna's Leela Shakti, Yogamaya potency, she every day, just before lunch, would facilitate one of Kamsa's asuras to come to Brindavan, to interrupt the games. All of a sudden there is Keshi, or there is Agasura. And then they had to end their games because Krishna had to do his beautiful leelas of liberating the demons. And watching, because Krishna would do it in such exciting, suspenseful, dramatic ways. Everybody would increase their appetites watching. And it would increase Krishna's appetite doing. And why was that? Because Yashodamai and the mothers of the different gopas had cooked lunch for them. They had their lunch containers. Prabhupada said they had their tiffins. They're packed lunches. And because Leela Shakti wanted them to enjoy their lunch as much as possible, by Krishna's grace, they had huge appetites. Sometimes they'd go to the bank of Yamuna and they'd make circles around Krishna. Like lotus, Krishna was like the whirl of the lotus, and all the other gopas were like petals, different circles of petals around Krishna. There would be thousands and thousands and thousands of gopas. They'd all be around Krishna. And each one of them would be looking to see what Yashodamai made for Krishna. That was very important. And Krishna would be looking and saying, "What did your mother cook for you?" And then one of the boys would take a bite and say, "Oh, this is very good, Krishna. Would you like to taste it?" And Krishna said, "Yes, yes, yes, let me taste it." And the boys would take a bite, and Krishna would take it and take a bite, and Krishna would take a bite. And they were all sharing their prasad with each other, just trying to make each other happy. In this way, Krishna's enjoying with his friends. And one great miracle is every single cowherd boy is thinking, Krishna's only looking at me. He's only smiling at me. And they're in a circle around Krishna. And Krishna didn't have 4 heads to look in all 4 directions. He was only looking in one direction, apparently. He only had 1 head and 2 eyes in this form. But every gopa was thinking, he's only looking at me. This is Krishna's unlimited capacity to exchange love so perfectly with all living entities simultaneously. In the spiritual world, no one is envious because Krishna is fully satisfying everyone. Huh? Translation. That's translation? Okay. Because I don't know Hindi, it's not disturbing me. When it was at the end of the day, on the day of Gopastami, it was around Gopastami time that Krishna delivered Dhenukasura. And on the day of Gopastami, Krishna would climb the Terrakadamba tree and he would call all of his cows, individually and personally by name. Now, can you imagine calling 900,000 names? Haridas Thakur chanted 300,000 names a day. That's 192 rounds. Multiply by that by 3. How many rounds is that? It's about... Huh?
576.
Krishna Nanda Prabhu, you are revealing super excellent opulences. He is saying 576 rounds. That's how many names Krishna would... How long would it take you to say 576 rounds? Now, Krishna called all 900,000 names with one name. This is the difference between you, me, and God. Krishna would say, Shamali, but another cow would hear, Davali. And another cow would hear Suravi. In this way, every cow would personally hear her name through Krishna's voice. And every one of them, when they heard, and each one was thinking, Krishna's only calling for me. Of all the cows, he's just calling my name. And the cow would be filled with love that tears would flow from her eyes, and she would respond to Krishna. But, and they'd come running back to the Terrakadamba tree, all of them. And Krishna would be counting each one of them as they'd come back. And if any didn't come back, Krishna would jump off the tree and go and get them. And they would come back into the village of Nandagaon. And for the gopis, a moment is like 12 years or more. They were gone throughout the whole day, intensely feeling separation from Krishna. Yashoda Maya would be there running toward him. Nanda Maharaj would be coming. There'd be big feasts prepared for him. All the gopis would be standing and Krishna would glance upon them and they would glance back. And this exchange of glances completely satisfied the hearts of every little gopi. Gopastami is also the day we celebrate Gadadhar Das Srinivasacharya. Then there's Uttanikadasi, which is also the disappearance day of Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. But there's another day in Kartik which is very, very special to us. A day that makes all the other days of Kartik accessible to us. It's the disappearance day of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. On November 14th, 1977, Srila Prabhupada, he left Brindavan in 1965 with 40 rupees. Boarded the cargo ship Jaladuta, sailed across the Arabian Sea, across the Middle East, Asia, Europe, then crossed over the Atlantic Ocean. Took almost 40 days. I think it was 38 days he was on the Jaladuta. Seasickness, heart attack, so many difficulties. And he wrote in his diary that I am feeling such deep separation from my lords, Sri Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan, and Radha Damodar. I am feeling such deep separation from Sri Vrindavan Dham. But I am on this mission on the order of my Gurudev, Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in pursuance of the instruction of Lord Chaitanya. I am very unqualified, completely depending on their mercy, so far away from Brindavan. Prabhupada went to New York City, and as Janani Vas Prabhu was so beautifully explaining in that magnificent class this morning, Prabhupada circled the world 14 times, taking great risk in old age just to teach people the love of Brindavan. And when, by the arrangement of Sri Radharani and Shyam Sundar, it was time for him to leave this world, they brought him back to Sri Vrindavan Dham, where in Krishna Balaram Mandir, with loving devotees all around him, chanting the holy names, and with loving devotees all around the world, chanting and praying, he returned into the eternal Leela of Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar in the spiritual world of Goloka Vrindavan. In Srila Prabhupada's life, in his departure, and in his eternal grace through his books, through his devotees, through his love, he is giving us entrance into Brindavan Dham. Srimad Bhagavatam has 12 cantos. Its culmination is the 10th canto, where it describes the beautiful pastimes of Krishna in Brindavan. And the very culmination, essence of the 10th canto is the 5 chapters describing the Ras Leela. Our great acharyas explain we have to approach the Ras Leela properly if we want to actually understand it with realization. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, unless we first understand how Krishna creates and his various other incarnations and his relationships with devotees like Dhruva and Prahlad and Ambarish and the Pandavas, we cannot approach Vrindavan Leela. Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the literary body of Krishna. The primary cantos are like his lotus feet. And we must carefully start from the beginning and gradually, under the guidance of a proper guru and the association of devotees, we must try to deeply understand, assimilate, and apply these teachings to our life. And when we do that with genuine honesty, eventually we are prepared to approach the 10th canto, which is considered the face of Lord Krishna. And ultimately, through pure surrender, total detachment from materialistic selfishness, we can approach the 5 chapters of the Rasa Leela, Rasa Panchayat, which is the Lord's smile, the Lord's beautiful smile. Tonight, we are celebrating the Ras Leela. We understand that the love between the gopis and Krishna is the highest expression of pure, ecstatic, spiritual realization in the entire spiritual or material worlds. Krishna tells in Gita, Yogi namapi sarvesha madgate nantadatmana shadavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamamata. He describes the greatness of yogis. But of all yogis, one who loves me with pure devotion and faith is most intimately united with me in yoga and is highest of all. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tattvata. Only by pure unalloyed devotion can I be understood and can one attain my abode. Bhaktya tvanini ashakya aham evam vidorjana. Only by such undevoted, uninterrupted love and devotion can I be understood as I am. Bhaktosi me shakacheti rahasyam yetadutamam. Arjuna, you can understand this because of your love, because of your bhakti, and because you are my friend. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavam papadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many, many births and deaths of cultivating knowledge, when one comes to the point of real knowledge, the highest knowledge, one surrenders to Vasudeva, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Sarva dharman parityasya. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I will protect you from all sinful reactions. And the culmination of the Gita, Man manabhavamad bhakto madhyajim nam namaskuru mami vaishashi satyam te pratijani priyo shime. Always think of me. Become my devotee. Worship me. Offer your homage unto me. In this way you will come to me without fail. I promise. We see this quality in the Pandavas, in Hanuman, in Ambarish, in Prahlad, in Dhruva, in the Prachetas. And ultimately we see it in its purest, highest form in the residents of Brindavan. And among all the residents of Brindavan, it's in its most intimate, inclusive, and sweetest form in the gopis. We read in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that the gopis did not know or conceive of anything except Krishna's pleasure. Going to hell was not even a question of thinking about if it would give Krishna pleasure. Their love was spotless, pure, unselfish. This is love.